But still you hear people. So I think we get the message that yes, going back, will we go through it as fast as possible, knowing that we took a perception hit that is not real? We will probably think twice. So this is why Public Works, all of our things, the Investment Commission, we are tendering everything now. But here and there, you will still be right, because there's a balance between how long people can wait and how people, like, in Grand Basso want an investment. So these are difficult things. At the end of the day, we just were beaten by the fact of these perceptions which are not true. We have to turn those perceptions around, because we are in the process of changing this country. Many people look at me at annual meeting and say, look, I've read see what you're doing with it, what the president is doing. I think you guys are on the right path. Just stay the course. Don't be distracted by the politics. Get a thick skin. Tell the president to go out and meet the people and just engage with the people. Let him forget about people. I mean, there's a senior person telling me this. Let him go out, because we're seeing the numbers. When you get into the IMF program, numbers will come. You will see greater confidence, and the people will say yes. The people were just trying to distract you.
I like to be practical with you for a second.
Yeah.
There are a lot of. It's a proper government.
Yeah.
Came on a grassroots agenda, but you have a situation where there's so much stuff about LEC, electricity, and so much focus on the hydro. But here we are. We have the CLSG project that's been moving faster than anything I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But this government, and the last government, never really focused on making that CLSG project work. That means Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. Electricity coming from Harper. If you go to Harper today, they have 24 hours current. Light doesn't go up in Harper. That project comes to Monrovia.
Mm-hmm.
It solves the problem. But we are owing Ivory Coast about 12 million, I think. Is there any plan for the government to pay some of that money, at least make it work? Because December, I'm told, is the deadline for the project to take off. Is it possible that that money, or some of that money can be paid so that you have electricity for Christmas?
No, look, let me say this. Credit to the last government. It's not fair to the last government to say that they didn't do. This project started under President Shelley. So we have to give her credit, all right? Government is continuing with it. Where the last government scored credits, we say so. Where they didn't score, they should come up also and say, we add here, we want join you to fix. It's a gig.
Right.
So they did some wins and they didn't do some things. But when we talk about the wins, they clap. When we talk about the things they didn't do, they get vexed. That's it. The reality is that it's an alien study project, and we're working hard to accelerate that. The deadline for finishing was December is going to be postponed. In 2020, that project will be delivered. I won't put the date, but it looks like it's going to be August, September. That's when it's going to come. We don't owe them for that. So before we bring that power here, we have to pay something around 10 to 12 million. Not that we owe, but it's like that's the requirement to start the process. That's a big challenge to us right now, where they're going. So I agree you raised that issue, because when we bring that power from cheap power, the cost of electricity goes down. One of the reasons why the cost of business is high in Liberia is not just because of the inflation. So sometimes we put everything on inflation. The electricity cost, the generators people are running, they pass those on to the consumers. So everybody's charging more because of electricity. If CLG is delivered, you're going to have power around 12 to 14 cents. That's more competitive. That's going to reduce the level of prices in the country. There have been some technical challenges in delivering in meeting the December deadline. And I thought it was going to be May. I understand that it's not going to be May. But one thing I can say, next year we will have CLSG. We'll make all effort to pay that 10 or 12 million for it to come. Okay, we're going to do that. The debt you're talking about pertain to the rural electrification. I think it's in the neighborhood of 2-3 million, and we're in the process of discussing those. But I think this season, for example, you're seeing some blackouts now. The government needs 12 million to support LEC. This LEC thing this country is going nowhere. Let me tell you, it's going nowhere. All this talk we're doing, we're not getting anywhere unless electricity becomes the engine. So fixing LEC, expanding transmission, distribution, bringing tariff down, those are the game changing for a transformed economy. So LEC should be generating 60 to 70 million. Right now it is not. So we are calling this donor conference. All of us, the partners, are coming together and saying, for one, and as I said to the opening program, we have to use this donor conference, and there is going to be a cabinet. We're discussing with the president on the need for all cabinet ministers, all agencies. In fact, I'm a cabinet. This cabinet is not going to be a cabinet. If you're using LEC as a government entity, you will be in that cabinet. So we appeal for the president to extend it all right, so we can all look at LEC as a country, because there are different views sometimes in the government that can affect the way we think. All of us need to sit down and say, here is LEC, here is a plan that takes LEC from where it is to the next level in the next 2, 3, 4 years with all of our partners who are committing that they are bringing this amount of money, because LEC needs money to change. We think we put LEC in a negative situation and say it should get itself out of that negative situation and go to positive, but don't put money there. A lot of money went into that sector, but still LEC is in negative. We are saying we want to draw the line, and we are using this development conference with our partners for LEC. The government is committed. You have MCC, the Millennium Challenge, you have the World Bank, you have the European Union, you have the African Development Bank, all of the partners, the Swedish government who have contributed, the Norwegian, everybody coming to that conference. $100 million. If we succeed, this is just the turning point for LEC then. Then we put all that LEC thing behind us. We fix as a government the model, agree with the partners under which LEC. So anything happening to LEC now is going to be this government, the partners, everybody taking the blame, because out of that conference we will not hear any LEC problem. So I'm making a big pitch to all our development partners. Thank you. I'm asking them to dig deep, because this is where the transformation is going to happen in the country. But we're going to fix the LEC problem.
You're listening to the Super Morning Show right here on ELBC 99.9, and we're in conversation with the Minister of Finance and Development Planning. My name is Titi Gibro, and I'm here with the publisher of the Front Page Africa newspaper. Mr. Tweah, I want to ask you about the young people. What is the plan for, the youth training centers, like the Clay, and other training centers? Because, young people in this country, there are many. And then there are so many of them who are out there who don't have anything to do. Are there plans for that?
Of course, there are plans. I mean, the PAPD has a youth development, has a social protection arm. Look, the future of this country is about young people. And right now, the economy cannot absorb the number of young people who are reaching the working age and wanting jobs. So the solution is to just get into practical programs and expanding. Give young people skills. Take a view of informal and the formal sector. So we have a national TVET strategy. The previous government had a policy. We're updating that policy. The Minister of Youth and Sport. At the end of the day, it's about training young people and linking them to economic opportunities. And this is the path that the Minister of Youth and Sport is on. I think anybody who graduates from an LOIC or an MVTC with some training has to be linked to an employment opportunity. Now, does the opportunity exist? Will it exist for that person? I believe we should link, and that's the program that's going on. I also believe that vulnerable employed people who are like pimping riders, these people don't have insurance. Okay, so sometimes when the pimping goes down, they have to wait for another money, look for money hard, and sometimes. So in other words, the protection of the vulnerably employed people in the informal economy is a track that the Ministry of Youth has to deliver on. So all of these elements are there. We're working with the European Union, all of our partners who have TVET program. We have a 20 million European Union program running. The French government is bringing money. The World Bank has money. All of these things, sometimes you see a lot of these things are happening, but maybe the public doesn't have the visibility of them happening. And it's on all of these people to give the public those visibilities. We need to tell young people what programs are available for them, how they can access it. I think that's the visibility that is needed. And I think coming out of this whole National Economic Dialogue Conference is what you're going to see. You people were there. I sat in a young people meeting. And I think I said, look, we want to take the findings from this young people meeting and use it as a catalyst. So those are the areas we're going. But no question, we are challenged today, but we need to train all of our young people to give them the opportunities. Small business loans, give them stronger access to finance from the banks. Work with banks on stronger guarantees. If you loan money to young people to do this, and young people themselves have to own up to their challenge. We are challenging all young people to also push themselves. Every young person should get up in the morning, push themselves to do something great for themselves. Go to school, study harder, read 3-4 hours a day, that's what it needs. If you don't have the skill, it's going to be difficult to compete. But if you have the skill and an opportunity comes, you're going to get it. So it's an all-inclusive process. Everybody got to rise up. The country we're in, sometimes you get the impression we sit down. I think we need to stand up. We need to run. We need to work closer together. We need to band together. I think sometimes we just think that somebody else will solve our problem. The government will set the enabling environment, and all of the ministers who are in the line dealing with young people, whether education, whether youth and sports, whether Minister of Finance, all of us have to work harder to identify tangible goals, all right, under the PAPD, own those goals, and carry things stuff into Ganta. Look at places like Ganta. Look, hats off to the youth in Ganta. You see the city alive because of entrepreneurship. So if Ganta is thriving, and if we can we replicate Ganta to Buchanan? Can we replicate Ganta to Harper? What is a success story in Ganta? Who's driving this? What are the factors? What innovations working? How can other places like Bapulu get that? So maybe that's what we need to share the successes that are happening. Ganta is a viable place. A lot of things happening there with young people. Let's replicate that. Can the government come in and provide the model in replicate it also? Yes. In Banga, yes. I think this is where all of us who are leading the young people, the Minister of Youth and Sports, the Minister of Education, all of us, we take responsibility for these things.
Minister,
Yeah.
I think somewhere down the line, we've been sidetracked because this government has been laying so much emphasis on satisfying, in my view, their partisans for jobs. So I think that takes away from the other things that they want to do, because they're present under pressure to hire more partisans. The public is saying you can't hire your own partisans. Let's make it even, an even playing field. In the middle of all this, the bread and butter issues are being ignored. The market women are selling. The shops, you go to the street right now, they're not buying like before. What is the government plan to address these bread and butter issues that are having serious problem in the country today?
Well, look, I mean, the slowdown, the challenges are there in the economy. I had a meeting with some business people the other day, and I'll flag this issue here. You know, we impose surcharge to protect the local Liberian industry. And then we're looking at data that's saying that surcharge may be costing us revenue. So the problem we have is that if we sometimes continue to want to dwell in the model that is not working and changing it, which is an input model, and the day somebody doesn't have something, more money to input as a slowdown, we have a problem. Or do we move and say, let's do more things locally? And I think that's the long-term direction, but it is also challenged when the politics gets strong, that then you say, look, maybe that long-term thing, let's get back to the hand-out thing. I hear you. One of the reasons, sales, for example, the volume of sales have gone down, partly because of the contraction in the economy owing to what just happened. A businessman told me, look, let me tell you, when Omni left, I saw a drastic decline in my volume. It's clear. Take the property owner who was receiving $3,500 from Omni. That $3,500 every month from rent, what do you think she would do with it? She would go in a supermarket and buy more. She would go around the street and buy more. That $3,500 goes away. All of the people who are employed by Omni go away. And so that's an impact on the economy, on sales. The way to do that is to expand on the local side. All right? Because that's how people get more income. To ensure you expand the base to get more revenue, we have to replace the things that have left this economy by focusing on growing those things here. That's just the medium term. There's no magic to say, oh, okay, let something happen so that people can bring 200 million by then. It's a short-term thing. The short-term thing is politically attractive, but then that's where we have been. That's why we don't have an economy that is diversified. That's why agriculture is not there. So I'm just saying, when I say patience, not just on the salary side, it's on the fact that we have to change our economy around. So the day iron ore price goes up, we benefit. But the day it doesn't go, or the day it falls below, we also are not hit hard because we know we got agriculture going. We got small businesses that we're supporting, they're expanding in technology. I think that's the way it's going. But we're going to see a turnaround. So, for example, when people look at the volume of the people's ability to buy things in store as an indicator, that will return. Once you straighten this fundamental, we'll continue working in the business climate to deliver these successes. improve confidence in the banking sector where people have access to finance, government able to service. And look at domestic debt. One of the challenges that the government can technically has to put money into the economy. Government owing business people, government can't pay. What does that do to the drag? Even if people are not buying and you owe the man, you get a mess up below. I will use the money payment to expand or move in the other direction. But you also have to. So as part of the program, we're working to take all of the domestic debt and develop a clear payment plan under this program to put money in the economy. We tried that already with the debt to the commercial banks, the 65 million. But there's not only commercial bank government owing. Government owing all of the vendors, everybody government in line. People are fighting every day, coming to the finance. That's it. But the money to pay them, do you not pay workers and you go and pay the debt? So that's a challenge. So you see, once we do solve all these small problems, you will then begin to see that the government will be in a position where we can start making payments on domestic debt.
Yes, let me just take you back a little bit to agriculture.
Yeah.
Because we all heard from the government that agriculture is the best way to go now. The extractive sector is not doing too well. Like you said, it's better if agriculture is booming and then the extractive sector is booming.
Yeah.
Then we gain. It's a win-win situation for us. But do we have a timeline? We don't have a minister proper for agriculture right now. I hear you talk about all of the measures that have been put in place. What can you tell the Liberian people? How long is it going to be for Liberia to be on the stable when it comes to agriculture?
Look, let me tell you this. I think the president says he wants a practical minister of agriculture who will be held to tangible deliverables. He's not going to be a theoretical minister. So what I mean is to say, we look at the level of rice production today, we look at the level of pepper production, we look at the level of cocoa, set specific targets, and then tell that minister that today we are at 1. In 18 months, when we come to check food production, we should be at 4. If we're not at 4, please, you leave or something. And maybe the president is thinking practically about not seeing it as, because this is where, and we are prepared on the finance side to say we're organizing the development partners, the banks, to then line up value chain financing. So when you, from the input to the market, the financing along, transportation, everything, feeder roads, all the part of the package. It is this minister who takes all of this and commits that in 18 months, when we look at rice and every production from now, it is up.
So then our minister is working alongside the public works minister because the roads have to be...
Everything is a value chain. So that's what I'm saying. You want a minister who gets up in the morning dreaming about Liberian people eating and not waiting for somebody to call him to do his work. That's the minister the president is looking for. The minister who will work 24 hours around the clock, will spend sleepless nights putting all of the elements together, who is commanding the leadership. That's the minister that's going to. And so sometimes we've had a lot of ministers, right? So the president is not just appointing a minister, because we've had, how many ministers? 10, 15 ministers of agriculture? They've gone. Who takes agriculture from where it is to have confidence in all of the partners, to bring everybody together, and then you have the Minister of State willing to support that minister, the Minister of Finance, you have the minister. So all of us want to line up. The way it looks right now it's all our job. It's not just the minister's job, but he has, that person or she will have the support of the government and will be under pressure because everybody is looking at agriculture now. Everybody will go to the numbers. You look at agriculture production today. The other day I asked the religious people, they used to do an agriculture survey that tells you how much rice is produced annually. When we're writing the constituency analysis, we fed on that data a lot. We'll have to go back to that data to see this year how much rice, how much everything is growing, and then use that. You do the rating, you will judge, say, in 1 year time, without saying we're going to solve everything in 1 year time, but you want the pattern of increase to be dramatic. And I think that's where we are going with this.
We've touched agriculture, we've touched electricity. One area I think that needs to be addressed also is the issue of the port.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks maybe, there have been a lot of reports on social media about the port has taken a dip. Because NPA is supposed to be the gateway to Liberia. But late there have been a decrease in the number of ships coming in. People say it's because of the high tariff and the recent agreement with the company in Sierra Leone that added extra burden on top of importers of goods. What's your play in terms of how we look at the import issue?
Look, we're in conversations under the business climate program with all of the stakeholders in that sector. The ambassador of France convened a wonderful meeting with all the shipping lines and the Minister of Commerce and all the relevant players. We have been talking to APM terminal and everything. We've looked at paths of reducing the cost. I mean, it's clear that some of the charges that they're doing is high, so we're working with them to bring that down, and it has come down. To what extent APM terminal can play a role? So there is that conversation. There's that path that's happening. The real thing about the level of it's a general thing. It has to do with the number of ships that come to Liberia, for example. As part of that, it says we have to do more with the port in terms of infrastructure. So we're working with APM terminal now to invest in a gantry crane. A gantry crane is a ship-to-shore crane, and we thought some of the stakeholders tell us that, look, it costs us more to come to Liberia because you don't have a gantry crane. So that factor we are addressing. So with an investment in, a delegation will be going to Copenhagen to sit with APM terminal. We just returned along with the Port Minister and the Minister of Justice looking at the APM terminal concession. There are things that we're working with them on to improve. All of that work is happening. The information that tariffs are high in Liberia is technically not correct. The business people like to believe that taxes are high in Liberia, for example. That is not true. Liberia is under pressure to increase taxes. Relative to the region, we are at the bottom of taxing. We are like everybody else have higher taxes. Whether it's personal income tax, it's corporate income tax, whether it's what, we are just at the bottom. We are just a low tax environment. So one of the measures is, for example, ECOWAS common external tariff. We're behind. The other tariffs, the other countries are implementing that. We're still behind. We're trying to catch up with everybody else.
I think the issue of tariff, the reason it's like that is because if you go to Conjunction Road, I don't know if you're aware, but it's the only part of Liberia, Monrovia, where 99.9% of the business are Liberian owned. Most of those people are people who live in the diaspora. They work their regular jobs, they save their money, and they put a container together and bring it to Liberia to sell. But when they get to the port, they bring in cars, they bring in clothing, they bring in a lot of food stuff. But they charge them so high that some of them are giving up. I think that's contributing to the fact that the ships are no longer coming like before how it used to be. So, I mean, is there a way to give some incentive to those people? Because they're the ones, I think, that would build the economy for a long time.
Look, even the surcharge discussion I mentioned, we are looking at these measures. To what extent, you see, revenue, domestic revenue has to come to finance the budget that you have. We need 297 million annually to pay workers under this harmonized wage. If any tax measure it causes us probably not to get that money, that would be one reason why you would delay in paying people. So it's a balancing act. A stimulus versus finance a budget. The country will be in a fine situation to take some of these measures. What's her name? The former finance minister at the Economic Forum proposed that, maybe people, instead of telling people to pay the tax to the government, let them use that tax money. That proposal doesn't work because of the cost structure of your budget. We have 526. Let's say if our budget was 400, right, and we're now under this pressure, you can then shift that tax stimulus elsewhere. But you have to find money to collect. So the folks at the Ministry of Finance, folks at the LRA, we are looking at all the models. We've asked and say, let's look at all the tariff, the tax data. The National Legislature called a hearing. I wasn't able to go, but in 2 weeks' time, we are reporting back. All of this question is on the table now. Subject to the fact that the numbers that you get should convincingly bring revenue in for the budget. Or else, if it doesn't bring the revenue in for the budget, you then are going to have a shortfall there and risk the budget. And one of the things we're working with the fund is that we should not risk revenue. because protecting revenue will be the one where we take money from to. So it's not an easy thing, all right? It's a balancing act because you have competing goals. You have a high budget, and then you also want to expand the economy, but we're working to look at the data to see. And since I became minister, this is a recurring question. And the Liberians that are involved and how much they pay, we need to put them on a separate lane and see their actual volume. And I think that's go to the level of detail and see what impact they will have and what. So it's an econometric thing that we're looking at. But at the end of the day, I hear you, because these are our people. The president, in fact, when the president came to office, he mandated, APM terminal to waive about 6 million of the extra charges from the port, and then the port director have been doing some other measures, but it's something that we're looking at. We're definitely looking at as part of the whole conversation with the surcharge, because the evidence is that we raise surcharge to protect the manufacturing, and we've seen some decrease in revenue.
You think the government is overtaxing the little people too much? Because there's one thing to tax APM Terminal or any big international, ArcelorMittal or other people. Those who are just barely making it, I mean, like people who just bring their ship containers to the port to sell a good and make a profit. I think they feel that they're being overtaxed, and I think that's where the problem coming from.
Okay, look, we'll continue to have the conversation and then solve the problem. It's a perception thing, it's a reality thing. What the data says, it has to be informed by data. That's the thing. When we talk to the people, the data doesn't seem like it's moving that direction. But we can look at data on one hand and still make decision despite what the data says. And I'm just saying that these things have consequences, right? When the alterations you make in your tax ratios, they could go either way. When we say we do something incentive, it means when people don't respond to that incentive in time enough, the revenue is lost, and you face a shock on the other side. So I'm bringing this in the debate, but I hear, look, the problem is we want to help our Liberian people. We want to help our Liberian people who are in business. And one of the key things we think is we always have the perception that we're not too good at business. We are not controlling our economy, and that conversation is a legitimate conversation. It's how does the government policy, fiscal policy, public policy, help Liberians to improve their performance in the economy. I think it's something that we're working on.
Hey, so Tweah, let me bring you back a little bit. I want to know how much did this government in debt inherit from the previous government, inclusive of local banks? How much debt did you inherit from the previous government?
So the country's debt now, when the president took office, I think the debt was around $1 billion total debt. Yeah, domestic, money owed to the central bank, and multilateral, concessional loans. Debt now is about 1.2 billion. Under this president, there have been 100 million disbursed. And the challenge with the debt situation now, for which we have to be careful, is that most of the borrowing that financed the Basel Road, some of the roads, they're coming due. So imagine the
government has to pay back.
Of course. The Buchanan Road, the money used to finance Buchanan Road, is coming due. The question we ask is the road paying for itself? The answer is no. So we need to turn that entire corridor. This is why coming up, the special economic zone in Buchanan, the Guinea Rail connection is going to make that road pay for itself. We need agriculture along that whole belt, because that's how the country is paying.
It's going to pay for itself through agriculture.
Through higher revenue. So when economic activities happen and people make money, then government get revenue. So we take some of that revenue because of that road. But we are paying on all. So let's say about 600 million concessional loans, we are now trying to pay for it. And in this current environment, one of the things you don't want to do is to start showing that you're not paying your international debt. There is sense the signals that the country is in debt distress. You don't want that. When people say the country is in debt distress, then everybody starts thinking, wow.
Are we in debt?
We're not. We're moderate risk of debt distress. But if we don't put our fiscal house in order, we will move to high risk of debt distress. When you get to high risk of debt distress, then everybody put you down and say, no. The challenge is that going forward, any project we do, any investment we undertake has to generate strong return to the economy. We should not build roads to nowhere. When we build those roads, we should also complementarily, along while doing it, invest in agriculture. So when the road finishes, economic activity can go on and the country revenue can go up. That's what we mean. So there's no political roads. There has to be economic roads, because at the end of the day, anything we do, we're paying back. A concessional loan is cheap, but it still counts. Right now, as we speak, we're paying heavy amounts in this tight situation. And so one of the public financial management laws say debt, especially external debt, has the first claim on the budget. That's what the law says. The law says you should pay debt before you pay salary. The public financial management law. It says you must pay debt before you pay people.
Are we able to do that? Can we do that?
So you technically will have to violate that law, because in a constrained situation, you want to look good on paper to the rest of the world, but then you also want to pay your people. So we're in a situation where you have to balance. We are committed to paying all of our external debt. We're servicing them. So when the money comes into the consolidated, when we take the 80% sweep for salary, you can imagine 10% of that one is going straight to external debt servicing, whatever. Over time, we even go into salary and where necessary move. So debt is a higher priority because it sends a signal that the country is distressed, and we are moderate. We're not distressed. I want
to ask before you go leave from that, because I heard you earlier say that all three branches of government have contributed to this whole harmonization.
That is correct.
Policy, but there is this news in the public that the judicial branch of government, specifically the Chief Justice, has not, committed himself to this, and I want you to put that to rest. How true is it?
No, it's not true. The Chief Justice, I just met him a week ago. You know what he told me? He said, Minister, if y'all say y'all pay me $2,000, I'm fine with it. With my jack counter. That's it. This government, this country is for all of us. I'm quoting the Chief Justice. This country is for all of us. We stand behind the president, the government, to solve the difficult problem. The controller over there is controller. The Chief Justice is fully supportive of the harmonization.
So it means all three branches of government.
All three branches of government. This is a national program. This is a national program. So everything you hear about the Chief Justice, that means is not correct. So the factual information is that the judicial branch of government, is fully. They are committing, I think now, on the back of my head, around $2 million or 2 million to this. So all of the harmonization happening with them, it's going to be around 2 million or so.
Let me ask you this question. I know Randy will come in. Can we, generate what we can spend? Or with the help of our partners, is it going to be okay now moving forward?
The reason we're doing all of these measures is for it to be okay moving forward, so that we have our expenditure is in line based on how much we are able to collect. As I speak to you right now, the folks at the Liberia Revenue Authority are going all out because all of us are under pressure to deliver revenue. Real estate, let me tell you, you're going to hear some noises, but the enforcement on real estate is going to be tougher than we've ever seen it before. If you have property and you're not paying the taxes, the government will have to move for you to pay the property, or either you're going to have to sell the property to pay the tax. I'm saying that enforcement is coming. You're going to see aggressive revenue enforcement. People will have to pay their fair share of real estate taxes. That's the law. We have not implemented the law robustly, but we're doing that. Let me tell you one other thing. Duty-free. When somebody has a duty-free, let's say they want $200,000 worth of duty-free, they're entitled to it, legally, it's fair. The framework we have is such that that person can potentially apply for $700,000, while only $200,000 is needed. And so the $500,000 is a loss to the country. We are thinking, and we're looking at ways to we're going to move to what we call duty rebate. You want 200,000 worth of gallons of duty free? Fine. Write me a check, pay for it. We give it back to you. So you pay, you put it in an escrow account. When you finish, you come for it. That means that man will not be able to give us a check for 500,000, right? When he only needs what? 200,000. So you already eliminated the waste. So the abuse that we've seen on the whole duty business is going to have to change. But this is conversation that will have to be approved by all the stakeholders. You see how it's difficult to run the country, right? Clearly, this one will deliver. Now, the previous government tells me, like the colleague tells me, they tried this before, where it didn't work because they took the money and put it in the consolidated. And as soon as something go into the consolidated, my brother, that salary, that stuff. So what we're telling the stakeholders is that we take this money and put it not in the consolidated, put it extra somewhere. As soon as you come for your money, you get it. But the country will not be cheated. Exemption, incentives. All of the incentives we're giving some companies here, they are violating those incentives. They are people. So all those regimes we're looking at.
Is it going to continue? Because we know the past government also, gave tax waivers to some.
All that regime is under with bringing everything down. As I just explained to you on the duty-free side, on the tax incentive side, we give you incentive. You have to grow the economy. You have to do jobs. If you're not doing so, we'll take the incentive away. So there is a review ongoing, and we're agreeing with the fund. We're reviewing all of those who receive incentives and how they are using it. Let me tell you something. The reason why we are tight today is because we didn't make these tough decisions years back. We are now forced. We don't have any choice because the things that were supporting our economy have gone. All that external, if we end the war, we can't be in the state where we still be in the war, still where we're receiving a lot of stuff. So we're at a point where it is this president, the first person who's dealing with the fact that, look, you have to run on your own now and get the fundamentals straight. Getting the fundamentals straight means the easy things that we had in the past going to change. Real estate payment enforcement going to change. We're going to aggressively do fraud investigation on people who are defrauding Liberia of taxes. All of that is happening. The LRA is working in teams. I'm part of it. There's a drove of team going out looking at all of these things. At the end of the day, we come back at the table and see the impact of these measures, but they are ongoing.
That means that sometimes visibility is very important
Yes.
in the economy. And if you were to drive or just walk around any ATM around the city now,
Yeah.
you see people standing in line, they're being told that no money in the bank, and it creates the perception that the country's broke. How do you raise that perception when in reality people are seeing that they can't get money out of the bank?
No, I think money out of the bank has to do with the fact that the large amount of Liberian dollar is still outside. And so what I want to say is that the measures that we are putting in place, the central bank is a lead in this whole monetary thing. All of that is to re-establish confidence. And the regime we are going to is to raise interest rates. There are some constitutions, why you want to raise? Yeah. To bring inflation down, the rule says you have to do that. Inflation and interest rate, NCR to R. So what that means is that, for example, the saving rate, there are no real returns on savings. You put your money in the bank, you don't get anything. But suppose you put your money in the bank and you got 20% interest. Would that make people to bring their money into the bank? While we're solving some of the other issues about the downtime, the banks, so that you go for your money, there's a system breakdown. The banks themselves, we're having conversations with them to improve all of the systems and the processes that can give people confidence.
I think is it really system breaking down or just no? Because I think people are confused.
No,
Well, most time people go to the bank and say that the system's down. It's like happening every other day.
what I'm tell you is that 90% of the Liberian dollar is outside the banks. So how do you imagine if half of that goes back into the bank? So what policy measure takes this money that's outside back into the bank? That's the problem we are solving. This money has always been out. 5-7 years ago, 85% was out. Now it's 91%. The difference between that time is just because we had a surplus of United States dollars. United States dollars gone down, money's out. So I think where we are, all of us, is to say, look, let's look at how the policy framework we're putting in place is to address inflation by ensuring that the excess Liberian dollar outside that is driving inflation moves back into the bank. This is the clarity of the vision of the new program. One, let's raise interest rates. Let's raise interest rates on CBR bond, CBR bills. You should take your 10,000 Liberian dollar, invest in your CBR bill. Now we talk about 1 year CBR bill. It's not going to be 1 year again. We're going to move to 2 weeks, 3 week CBR bill, where somebody who get $50,000 invest in CBR bill in 3 weeks time they earn a 30% interest. Well, everybody won't be buying CBR bill because as soon as 3 weeks time you get your money back. What happens there is that all that money that outside will be moved back into the bank. We're banking on that. But that's not the only thing. We're looking at other measures as well. The bank will look at other measures. At the end of the day, it's just that. People will continue to put their money in the bank and save. And the transaction time will also improve with the reforms that many of the banks are doing. The challenge is nobody can run away from that challenge. We have money out. Now, as Christmas comes, the country will need the demand about 4 to 5 billion Liberian dollars to what it costs. Either you get that 4 to 5 billion Liberian dollars from out. If you're not able to get it from out, where you get it from?
You're the finance
So that's the measure. That's what we're looking
Let me
at.
ask you two quick questions. I know you have to take a breathe out. We'll go to a musical break, but two quick questions.
Sure.
Because this has been a concern from every time our correspondents report from the county. I think last week, two counties is Wapulu or Bomi in River G County. Government is dispersing salaries to teachers, and you've said it that your priorities would be the teachers, the nurses, and the armed force or the security personnel. But with this whole issue about liberty or the Liberian dollars being scarce, the report is not that the teachers are not getting their money, but when they go to the bank, they say there is no liberty. That's one of the issues. And then two, there is another issue in either Bomi or Bapolo counties where teachers, how is this whole, people who are teaching this whole thing about supplementary teachers and those teachers who, are paid by just people who are...
Yeah, okay, so look, I think that there are around 17,000 teachers. I know this because the other day I sat with the entire payroll team for a whole day. And that's where we structure 15,000 teachers have clarity. They have accounts, so they got their pay. But there are 2,000 teachers who are being paid by bulk check.
What does that mean?
What it means is that the controller writes a bulk check and they're all lumped together. And people have been telling us that bulk check system has problem. So we should bend and bring the 2,000 teachers to the level of the 15,000. That is the work that is going on. But the ministry, and along with Ministry of Education, put out information that says all the teachers in that bulk check category will have to open their bank account. We're giving them time from now to December to open the bank account and get a biometric number. As a matter of fact, every government worker beginning the next fiscal year will now receive a check for government unless they have a unique biometric ID. This is something that we have to work on. It's one of the things. It's not a prior action, but it's something that is required under the program. So we're saying we got about half of the government workers now on biometric. By the next,
just a half?
yeah, it's around a half, 60% or so. By next year, everybody should have unique. So the National Identification Registry, all of the Internal Audit Agency, everybody will work together to deliver that next year. The teachers we are talking about, we're working with them so that they all can have it by December. So we are still paying them with the bulk check, which is subject to a lot of stuff, all right? We say the country will take that loss. Whoever whoever is collecting, let them continue to collect. But beyond December, they're not going to collect. So we clean up that 2,000 list, make sure everybody is uniquely identified, and they have an account number at a bank. Then we dissolve the bulk check system. So right now, as we speak, this is the issue. We're getting some issues which I will not say on radio here with banks and all that stuff, but we're looking into all of these. The Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance are sending teams along to look into all of this system. But at the end of the day, I'm saying by December, it will not be necessary because everybody will have an identification number and we have an account number.
Everyone
and
should
then we have 17,000 teachers now paid the same way.
What do
Okay,
you mean when you say pay the same?
I mean, like, they all have regular accounts and all of that. We're not paying anybody through bulk check again.
My final question, I don't know whether Rodney will come in before we open the lines, but let me ask you this question. What is it about the turnover notes from the previous government? Is it something that you make public or not?
Turnover notes, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's, we haven't made it public, but I think it should be free to the public. I know I accessed it a number of times when we were in the transition phase. I think it was in some portal, we went and read some things, yeah, but if the public wants it, the public can have anything it wants. There's a Freedom of Information Act, right? We are a democracy. This is an active living democracy. Nothing is hidden.
I mean, I think that's Freedom of Information Act thing. It's on paper, but it's very difficult.
But then you are under obligation. The civil society.
We tried, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Let's, before we go to the phone calls, the issue of perception is a big deal in Nigeria.
Sure.
And the perception in Nigeria today, if you open the phone lines now, they will tell you the government is being run by Minister Tweah and Minister McGill. They control everything. They make the appointments. They represent the president everywhere he goes. And there's this thing about the entire government following the president on his traveling. How much of these things, how much thinking goes into these processes, and how much is reality?
A lot of it is not real. Look, the government is not being run by Minister Tweah and Minister McGill. The government is being run by the president. Minister Tweah and Minister McGill are influential, yes. Right? I'm a Minister of Finance. Most of the decisions got to do with finance. I'm at the center. I am somebody who comes from a long history with the president, with the founding of the party. So I'm in a kind of situation where anybody can ascribe things. Look, I'm in this chat room when people are saying, even the Bali Act, I wrote it. So I'm telling them, so how do you expect the Minister of Finance will write everything? And there are many things in the government I personally don't know of, but the perception is that I should know of it. It's not fair. The president is in charge of his cabinet. Cabinet officials and cabinet members have distinct functions, and they're all executing their functions. This president gave significant leeway to cabinet officials, to government officials to do their work. The president doesn't come and handhold you, but he handholds you when he doesn't get a result. So his style is, I delegate responsibility to you. You do all my supervision, you report and brief me and the cabinet is working. So the notion that people just think is, like I told you, the whole country is politicized. So they will just take me, they'll take McGill, and everything will be, these are the two people. When the reality is that everybody has statutory functions. Minister McGill will never interfere in anyone's responsibility, they're delivering it. In fact, the challenge is that once they're not delivering, they're enforcing Minister McGill. So the president tells Minister McGill he's not doing his work, probably because some minister or somebody else at some entity is not producing. He takes the first pressure. He calls me and hit that pressure on me. So in other words, in the senior roles we play, we come under a lot of flack from the president. Everything. Imagine the flack I come under. Yeah. So it's a perception thing. I think where we are now as a cabinet, you can clearly see the Minister of Education, for example. Look at the successes he has delivered. But sometimes people don't like to talk about these successes that are happening, right?
What are those successes?
Rodney, you carry. I don't know to what extent how many times you carry the story of 400 students passing when only 3 passed. Now you need to interview the Minister of Education and say, what did you do to move from 3 to 400, and you move from 400 to what next? 30,000 students passed one subject. Now 69,000 or something. No, 30, so either the percentage or the number. But the passing rate doubled. You need to have the Minister of Education say, what is it that you're doing to turn this around? It looks like you are going somewhere, but there are still gaps. What are those gaps? We're not talking about some of these things. Sometimes, so there are good things that the government's doing. The government's doing incredible reforms that have been difficult. But there's not going to be magic in 1 year. You can't expect a very difficult country taken over by a president in a very difficult time when expectations are large and outsized to just all of a sudden say, we change the country. No, it's going to take some time. And this is why I'm appealing to the Liberian people to be a little patient. But in that patience, there are people who want to distract. So what that does is that it frustrates their patience, because if the conversation is on the things that are just perceptual and politics and, look, the government takes a lot of criticism for not communicating well, and I agree with that. Government should communicate well. We should come out in systematic ways to combat mistruth, half-truths, lies, to preempt somebody coming out with. You look at the MCC score, right? We knew that score was coming. We prepared that stuff. But look at even you, the release that you came up with. You're not, Rodney, you're not happy. I'll get in the journalist chair now and hold your feet to the fire. You are not helping this national discourse in the democratic transformation. When your paper that is internationally regarded writes something that is not mathematically factual, and then everybody got to come to you, you got to take that thing down, you got to do that.
What specific?
I mean, the eligibility score that came out.
No, because I mean, you were on the committee during the last government when
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
But most people are saying that you did not follow through in terms of using the same formula that worked for the.
What follow through?
In terms of having a task force that will.
There is a
advise-
task force. Let me tell you, to get to that 8-8, you know the level of work that went into it? There's a lot of work going into the eligibility score. People were to the level that we are working on all the details, everything. But these are, for example, the domestic violence law. It was passed, but it will come next year. The education score, we follow it to the letter. So we have a tax team that is dedicated. One of the challenges I would say is that it looks like, the ownership of this process has to get to the cabinet level now. And that's where it's getting now. It's getting there.
But why didn't they get there before? Because we have Gambia getting good scores, Sierra Leone getting good scores, and we falling short in terms of having passed the halfway point of the scorecard.
That is correct. Because some of the issues in the scorecard, for example, inflation, we were passing inflation. Some of the things that are not things you press button on. They are things that have to. Fiscal policy will improve with the measures we're putting in place. So it's not so much about relationship. These are independent people. I mean, they go look at the data. For example, we've been failing some of the things in the past because we've been sending the wrong data. Where we are now is every minister who has relevance to a business climate score and an eligibility score is going to be responsible for that. That's the team. So the eligibility team is going to have higher visibility now. But I can tell you next year we're going to pass more than 10. We're going to pass 12, 11 to 12. You have me on that one. We're going to pass that. There's no question. We're going to pass. And this score is not going to affect our compact score. It's next year's score. Yeah, you got to write that down because I need to hold you. You need to hold me on that one. We will deliver those passes because I think we are at a point where the framework is set and we'll communicate our data better. There are two major schools we're tracking on education: primary education and primary enrollment, girls enrollment. The enrollment rate in this school year, the girls on the girls side has affected our school. We have to change. We need to put more girls to school. So you see, when you just look at the indicators, then you see, well, it makes sense. We got to put more girls in the schools. We have to spend more money in the sector in certain ways. Those two things on the military education, they're going to take ownership for that. And so I have all confidence that, even the main thing we're going to work on is the control of corruption. We are the median. We need to go above. And so the perception thing that you raise has to be dealt with because these are all perception surveys. What is the perception that the government is moving on the corruption front?
Does that mean that you're going to now just focus on former government officials accused of corruption or current government officials who are...
No, I mean the corruption roadmap is a whole long... It's just demonstrating the institutional mechanisms, right, for transparency and for confidence that the country is going after. So if anybody is involved in any corrupt act, they have to be prosecuted. And this government has brought people to trial. This government has brought people to trial.
You got the issue with, in terms of, you say you're going to pass the next circle.
Yeah.
But we still have issues with democratic rights. Got the issue of Patrick Hunter.
We passed democratic rights.
I know, but to maintain that score now.
In fact, those schools are going up. We passed the freedom.
Patrick Hunter punch off him.
How do you take Patrick Hunter to extend into a whole country school?
It falls into the issue of democratic rights.
No. If you look at the indicators, democratic rights got too many dimensions. We are passing on too many of those dimensions. We're not past 100%.
So you're comfortable with the score you got in democratic?
No. We will continue to improve. We're never comfortable.
Yeah, but don't you think? Maintaining that score in terms of expanding.
No, look. What I'm saying, we passed. That score is not a threat to us getting to compact. I'm telling you the flashpoints that we need to focus on. All right, rule of law. On the World Bank doing business indicator, we made no movement between last year. It was 35 and 35. And let me tell you this: the Chief Justice has promised his direct leadership in this because a lot of the things in the rule of law got to do with the judicial system. You know, our judicial system is slow to move. There are civil law procedures. So the Chief Justice has agreed. We're going to work with him to get the Bar Association on to do the changes that will reflect next year in our doing business, and also improve the perception that it takes 300, 400 days to clear a case in court is just not good. When we were running the constraint, I think 1,200 is too much. So we did some progress with the commercial code under the last government, but it looks like even there the problem is still there. And so we brought all the judges together. For the first time, I saw all of the judges, and in Ganta we had this meeting. We are going to now go to the measures. In this year's budget, we have some allocation there for this kind of purpose, some allocation for the judicial, because we're committed. They have to digitize the systems. They need to change some of their procedural, I think the civil law procedure, and then also, I think at the appellate level, there are some things that need to happen, but the president convened the legislature to look at some of those things, whether you go to a appellate level with final jurisdiction, certain cases, those conversations are the things that will move the needle. But these are not conversations that one person can sit and press. It's a whole sector we're dealing with. We are committed on our side to say, look, we'll find the resources, we'll work with partners. The Swedish government, through SIDA, is providing support for business climate, right? And so some of this money will be used to move that needle. So I'm quite confident with the assurance from the Chief Justice that the next year's code, and I met the Lebanese business people, I told them, they convened me and they raised the same issue that we are facing problem with the code. You know what I told them? I said, next year, if that score does not move, hold me personally responsible. I'm saying it publicly now. So on that score, you will hold me personally responsible. I will take the personal responsibility if the judicial score does not move next year indicator. That one is clear.
Minister Tweah, we're about to open the lines. Let me ask you one final question before we open the lines. ECOWAS is to introduce a single currency policy by 2020.
Yeah.
How prepared is Liberia?
Well, I mean, the preparedness will be that you have to meet. They got something called convergence criteria. So they look at all your macro numbers, which is why all these numbers are important. Your deficit, your inflation, all these things have to, so what do you mean? But on a general level, it's a good thing to have one currency. When countries have one currency, like countries in the CFA zone, these countries tend to have low inflation. Okay? They have low inflation. So economic science has shown that the monetary union is good for inflation management. If ECOWAS gets one currency, like Liberia is part of that, it's also going to be good for regional trade, movement of goods and services across.
Are we ready to be a part of it in 2020?
It's not. Many countries, not only Liberia, many countries are not ready. So we're not going to go there in 2020. That one, nobody should tell you that we're going there in 2020. It's a conversation that is happening. We have quite a ways to go. Okay, so it's not going to happen in 2020, and and we're getting ready. So getting ready means that we're putting all of our fundamentals in place that will give us the numbers that they determine that you are ready. So they look at your inflation. If inflation comes down, they look at your deficit. Under this program, we're supposed to manage our deficit to be 2.5% if we run a deficit. So definitely, once we meet in 2.5%, everybody can say, whoa, Liberia's doing great. Liberia's doing great. Then we got to be under 3% in deficit. So I think we're on the path to meeting the convergence criteria, but it's not going to be 2020.
Okay, 5 minutes on the downside of 10 o'clock. We still have the Minister of Finance with us. We've got some more time, and it's your time now to, place in your calls this morning on the Super Morning Show. My name is Titi Jibra, and I'm here with the publisher of the Front Page Africa newspaper, Mr. Rodney Say, and we're requesting the Minister of Finance. It's your time now to ask those questions that we've not been able to ask. And unfortunately for us, our lines are not working, so we're going to use only one number 07701926 and 96. I'm going to take a musical.
There's a confusion, people. I'm speaking to the public here now. People tell me, Minister of Finance, you're not supposed to be talking. Minister of Finance, you're not supposed to be talking too much. You're supposed to sit down and work. So sometimes you see that word, sometimes I sit down, I don't. But if we don't talk, then sometimes. So I agree with them. I think I need to. I will get clearance from the president that we need to tell the people all the time. If people tell me I'm talking too much, that's fine. I told them, say the people who call, the Liberian people want to be hearing what we're doing. So I would take that criticism for not talking all the time. Look, these are very deep, profound questions from callers across the country. Very, very interesting questions. The Country Development Fund is the Country Development Fund is something that's in the budget, that's given to the legislators to do development in their counties. So the way it works is that the legislator will have a county sitting, and then they then at the county level should determine what to do with this money. So this is how. So the county will sit in the county capital and with the legislator and the superintendent and everybody, and then they will identify projects. In the past, they've identified road project, maybe a building, a hand pump, different kinds of projects in the judgment of the people who make the decision. That's how we've been doing it. So this 3.5 million in the last 10 years or so, we've been allotting it. What I hear from him is that it seems like he's like critiquing the system. He's like, what impact are we seeing? Because it's just, we don't get, so I think I agree with. Let me tell you this, many of the legislators are now thinking that maybe counter development for and even consultation with the president, that look, maybe we need to put this money into agriculture. Because, if 3.5 million every year goes into agriculture, that $10 million in the next, that $30 million in the next 10 years, that's a significant amount of money to affect agriculture regionally. And so legislators are having that conversation, and I think there's going to be a big stakeholder meeting on thinking around that. But this money is supposed to impact the local community. But I think he's right that maybe the feasibility of it, or maybe he needs to meet his lawmakers to explain to them, so they explain to him how.
Is it the sole responsibility of the lawmakers?
Yeah. So in other words, sometimes like with the fiscal challenge, we've not given all of the counties their money, especially in the last budget year. I think some of them have. I don't know the list who didn't. I know Grand Bassa County received. I know. I don't want to get into trouble by saying who received, who didn't receive. Can't got that list. But not all the counties who received, but many counties received. Some of the counties received, and they are supposed to use this money based on a county sitting. They're not free to. So I think that's where we need to go. Maybe we need to go to the county sitting and let the county sitting say, put this money into agriculture. Then that one now is going to have. But it's an investment. It's in the budget. The effort government making, it's a very good question, and I think it gave me an opportunity to clarify, because when I said the Buchanan Road, so a road is very expensive. It costs about $1 million per kilometer. So if you're doing 200 kilometer of road, it's like $200 million. And then when you put that $200 million, you got to pay back with interest. So what the economists do is they run the rate of return on the investment of $200 million and saying, are you going to get value for that money on this road? So what we're doing is to say, look, all the roads we are building are going to expand the economy. But just building the road alone and not doing some of the other reasons why people may not use the road will make the investment return on the road to be low. So in other words, when you build the road, then we have to also increase agriculture production. Then we have to, do mini grids, electricity, all those good things, improve transport. So give people loans so that they can do transportation, and then economic activity is happening on the road. People can locate because electricity is there. Businesses can build a factory. That road then becomes a road that you will get money for. So in other words, all of the roads we have in the country today, all the prior investments, we're trying to increase agriculture, increase investment, so they can pay for themselves. The new roads we're doing, the Ganta work on Ganta to Tapeta is coming. Ganta Tapeta coming. We are working on a lot of roads. eBay provided $50 million to do the roads in the President Coastal Corridor. The Minister of Foreign Affairs will soon be going to India, so we can get the $144 million that's coming for all this. So we have lined up a lot of monies on the President Road infrastructure. We are going to deliver these things, and we're in conversation with investors on that. But roads do have, when we wrote the constraint analysis, it said without roads and electricity, the economy will not grow. But we're saying now that don't just rely on that statement and build a road. When you build a road, do other things that will drive traffic on the road. So that's the point I was making there. Okay, the investment on donor funding. So you can get another issue here, and I don't think I think I've probably spoken on it, but it's not there. So what's happening here, the culture has been that, look, when the government faces a difficult situation, the development partner funds are in the Ministry of Finance, Central Bank. Governments have used those monies and put it back in time. So that's the question. So it's not, the money is used and goes into the general revenue account. The same way the money from taxes go into the general revenue account. So when governments in the past have faced squeeze, they go into the donor fund, use some of the money to go and pay salary and other stuff. As the revenue comes, they put it back. So it's just been that practice. When I became minister, some of the development partners came to me and said, I have to put money back that was taken by the former finance minister, and we did that. But putting that money back also created a problem for the current government, right? So, and so when we faced that situation, this is where we went to that. It's not something that we should do, and we are not doing it. We have stopped, and we never do that. So even if we're not, even if God forbid, if you say that's the only money that you use to pay salary, we talk to the civil servant to hold their peace until money comes. But we're not going to. So that practice, I talked to Councillor Sherman when they summoned me. He said, "Look, Minister, even though he's a legal luminary, these things have been happening, but technically it should not be happening."
So it didn't start with this government.
No, the previous government. That way it's clear. It's an old thing. Mr. Patton, so we said, okay, I promise as a senator, it's not going to happen again because anybody can politicize it. It wasn't. You see, that's the question. The things that were not politicized before are the things that are being politicized now. So I'm just telling the public a lot of the things about the politics. They were not politicized in the past, but they are politicized now because people are politicizing things of the president, and there's still people are still bringing their stuff. The president being president, now we're driving all this stuff. This question here, even of I coming to him, the other caller talk about the.
Mind you, the people who are in opposition now are the people who were in government before, so they understand what happened previously. So if you're doing that now, they'll politicize everything.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, but I just like the public to know when somebody is playing politics and when somebody is not playing politics. So that's why I need to come on the radio a lot to tell people, okay, this one is a reality we're dealing with it, but I want there that the politics side. So just see the political way, and the other one here. That the real side he talking there. Just for the public to see when somebody is politicizing. So here's the other thing here. So that donor fund thing, we have stopped that. It was the partners wrote the other thing. Made people believe that somebody took money. That money the money we used to pay you. So that money there we used to pay the last Christmas. If that money are not going to go, people are not going to get paid on time Christmas. So let me put it that way. So all inside, but we're not doing it again. The rule is clear. We are the one changing all the rule now. We're fixing every rule. We're also saying we're not going to borrow from the central bank again. The central bank has been, as a matter of fact, government owes central bank $490 million. This government has borrowed from central bank. The one assigned as borrowing said, give it to me, $8 million. This last budget year plus, because we had the shock, we had to borrow to central bank credit line another 35 million. So I think this government can technically say out of that $498 million, owing the central bank between that 45. I had to look at it. That was shared there.
Speaking of central bank, how much money did NSA leave in the central bank? And how much money was taken out for the donor money? It's a confusion how much money was there and how much money.
No, so I mean, when you talk about when I became Minister of Finance, I think when I look at my data, the consolidated account, had, I think, around $6 million. Yeah, after the president inauguration, I have that email I can share with you. I look at the report on how much money was there. So the consolidated account is the money that we have every year. So that $6 million were in the consolidated account when the president took office. I mean, a few days after the president took office, and then we started waiting for more revenue to come.
So that was all the money
that in the consolidated $6 million. That is correct.
Only $6 million.
Only $6 million. I will give you the email reference from Charles Salif when he emailed me the stock of money. He sends this. So that email will show you when you add all the Liberian dollar, all the money, you're talking around $6-7 million.
This $6 million is not just Liberian dollar; it's American dollar and
everything combined. All when you do all the stuff,
right.
That's the money that we met there. I mean, it's verifiable. Go back again and look at it. On that day, I have the email.
Okay.
So it's factual about how much, about $7 million or so was in the consolidated when we took office. So if somebody believing that $200 million was there, let me tell them today that it's not possible. $6 million on that day, and then revenue continued to grow. So the consolidated is the budget. So when we say we passed the budget of $526 million, what we basically say is that we expect $526 million to come into that account, but it's not going to come. It's not going to be sitting there. $1 million will come today, $2 million will come tomorrow, $4 million will come, and then as the $4 million come, the government take it and use it. So on that side, that's the other kind. The other side has to do with the reserve. Look, the country reserve has been going down. Now our reserves we had higher reserves, and reserves are lower because of the economic environment. So I think basically that question speaks to when the president says. So let me talk about the debt side. On the debt side, we are now discussing paying back $490 million owed to the central bank. All right. And how do we do that? We're structuring all of the plans. We have agreed to pay the central bank 6% interest so that it's able to cover some of the monetary policy measures that is about to enroll. But the share of our government in that 490 is what I've just said. All right. So 490, when the president say inherited, so you get the scale to say the problem, the magnitude of the problem inherited. Domestic debt also, another one there again, that's another big part. You know, and some of the areas that we as a new government. So this is a very difficult situation. But even the other negative, this person was able to pay LEC bill by what? 7 to 8 million of the previous government debt. So the people came, I became minister, the first day people came and said, my man, LEC, you gotta get LEC 7 million. I said, where we get that one from? Yo, where you get it from? We struggle, but we still screen. The president screen, so you gotta pay that money. We pay LEC that money. The president says free tuition. The thing we give, so you can see he's committed 26 million in this tight space. But people have to appreciate that. Maybe we need to talk it more. Then people will appreciate it. Let me go to the question on mutilated money. I agree. Most of the money is old. So there's a confusion. When we say infuse money, the public needs to know this. When the president says infuse money, it doesn't mean that that money goes into the economy to buy something. So when the central bank puts money into the economy, it's like an exchange. You who got Liberian dollar will give it to the central bank, and the central bank who got US dollar will give it to you. So that's what happens in that exchange. So in that 25 million that we explained, first of all, let's say clear, there were not 25 million used by the central bank. Nobody went to Nukuta. You see, when I'm talking, I'm metaphoric sometimes. When you use the example of money outside, money is outside somewhere in Nikuta, in Tweah, it's outside. Who can tell me that money not outside? The money that is outside is what we want. There are ways that money can come in. If you take that money and invest it in a CBL instrument, that's fine. The money will come. If you did the direct, if you brought that, if the CBL went to you, and this direct mopping exercise where CBL takes money to people, it's not now. It happened before. It was never politicized by CDC. All right? CBL monetary operations were never the subject of politics. They are now the subject of politics. The former finance minister who was head of the research department, Mr. Boyman Kamara, will tell you that direct mopping was happening under Governor Mills Jones. There are reports out there that have been circulated showing you how direct mopping went. So it's a standard practice. In fact, bulk cash handling. We in this country, in the last 15 years, we have developed incredible expertise on handling large amount of money to pay workers in rural areas. You don't know that? Who follow the work? And the police can be following the people. So you're telling me that when they're carrying the teachers' money to Grand Crew, you don't think there's a risk that somebody can take it and run away with it? But at the same rate, just the way you take money to go and pay to Grand Crew teachers, at the same way the central bank people should take money, used to take money to go and exchange. The question is, in that process, you have to do the right thing. And so it's not a question of saying went to Nikuta. People, in fact, the rumor is that I was even in car. You don't reduce the Ministry of Finance has nothing to do with monetary operations. So that infusion there, what he's talking about, meaning why he can see Liberian dollar, even though we infused, what happened was that we were taking Liberian dollar out and not putting Liberian dollar in. When you see again, when I say we, I'm speaking in a sense of but when I say we, then it's when a man say we, he said what there. When I say we, I like to say the collective government. I don't care what people want to politicize it, but that's how I speak. I don't move myself from people. I'm not afraid for people to blame me and say, oh, that one, look, you can blame me. I'm not afraid of blame. I will take it. I'm a team player. We are there, the people. So when I say we, I'm speaking as a collective. But it doesn't mean that I don't went there and change the money. So what you do is that you give the Liberian US dollar to the person outside and they bring the Liberian dollar in. So that infusion took Liberian dollar from outside the bank. So his question is why he can't see Liberian dollar. That question means the money that was printed, not the mop up thing, because the mapper was taking Liberian dollar from outside. The infusion, the one he should be talking about is the contract printed 16 billion. Why is it today that it is not in the banks? That's the question I addressed earlier, that we have to fix that problem because, one, maybe saving rate is low. We know saving rate is too low. When you put your money in the bank, it earns nothing, and the rate of inflation is too high. So when we raise the interest rate, then he will have the confidence to say, oh, you know what? Because I'm not even confident. The question is, he want more money. Many of the reasons why the exchange rate is moving up, you know why? It's because somebody is making a profit. in the informal market, somebody is prepared to pay more for to get like US dollar, and somebody is benefiting. So if you do that on the saving side, then maybe the people who are in the money exchange will move their money towards this higher saving rate to get more money. And then we'll start bringing the exchange rate down, the interest rate down, and the exchange rate will stabilize. So other countries have done that. We are on that path. So let's be clear, there should not, the mop up never used 25 million. 15 million was used, and 2.3 billion Liberian dollar came from outside into the central bank. That's what we got. So 15 million was put outside, and then 2.3 billion came inside the bank, and the bank held that money. And in December, the bank took some of that money back because the same question they have, you see the concerns that are coming, people can't get money. That same person that came in the bank put the money back for people to be able to get the money. Okay, and then you ask a question on investment. Look, the country is pipelining. There's a lot of investments in the mining sector that is happening. The country, ArcelorMittal, for example, we're working now on them going to phase 2. Phase 2 means that we'll produce 10 million tons of ore instead of 5 million. We're working on concessioning the port of Buchanan, opening the Guinea Rail, a lot of investments. There's a poultry investment. So a lot of things are lining up. The full details we can give you about the exact investment numbers. I don't have them with me, but the National Investment Commission also, maybe in what the public is saying, should be telling the public also on reporting on these investments that are happening, investments that we are working on, so the public gets the information. But things are moving. If they will see the result, but for them to see the result, they have to stand behind the government to stop the politics. When we disrupt, so there are some people who are interested in these things not happening, so they can say, we told you the country. People are afraid. Some people are afraid for the president not to succeed because his success will mean that, I tell you, I said the man can't govern the country. That the whole politics business in here, and we're gonna tell the Liberian people that politics need to stop. So we welcome. On the question you raised on tax, I think it's an intelligent question. The alteration, whether, and I said we'll do a deep dive. You can't make a decision and say, first of all, taxes are low in Liberia. Number one, that's an economic fact. We can discuss that one. I can share the report with you. People, the recent IMF technical mission went across all West African countries and came and told me and said, Minister, your taxes too low in the country. And so one of the challenges, but you can't raise taxes even if it's too low here in the current economic environment. So I get his point where there are some rationalizations that we can do. And as I said, the team at LRA and the Minister of Finance are looking at which sectors you can change without affecting because he also supports the idea that you don't want to affect the bottom. But I agree with his point too, that the effect may already happen, and we are seeing some of that effect. So this is a difficult conversation that we are having, and I think with clarity, we will come up with a solution to what extent we can change rates, where we can change it, where the evidence show that it will have an impact on the budget or not. But that was a smart thing there on the part of the caller. So yeah, on the other caller talk about money outside the banks, and he said he needed to be convinced. The convincing them, my brother, is that first of all, there was no 25 million taken to look in town. All right, no 25 million. The 15 million was put outside. 2 million was given to Total to bring in oil. Total used to have a lot of US dollar. Then Total started facing problems because US dollar not in the economy. And Total is a company that does not go in the informal market to get US dollar. So Total is not one of the companies that causing the exchange rate, because the law says they can't go into the parallel market to get US dollar. So if Total is short, the government will have to find a way to get Total US dollar, because as a corporate policy, they don't do informal market. So we were able to give Total 2 million, but that was a drop in the bucket because they want to move. All right. So your confidence is that let's look at the new measures that we are putting in place. The president will announce a new governor. The new governor will have the responsibility of conducting monetary policy. The goal of inflation is the central bank's goal. The number one goal. It's not the Ministry of Finance goal. Let's say that. The entity responsible for fighting inflation in economies is the central bank. The Ministry of Finance works with the central bank through policy coordination to bring inflation down. So for example, the Ministry of Finance should not be putting significant amount of Liberian dollar in the economy in a way that will cause inflation. The whole inflation business started here from 2017, when 9 billion Liberian dollar that was sitting at the central bank made its way outside. 9 billion Liberian dollar. And then in February, this is how you began to see this jump. Now, it went out, but it went out at a time where US dollar had also left the economy. So that's an inflationary combination. US dollar can help us minimize inflation. If it leaves, And if you're putting to control this, you have to tighten a little bit. So we're going to a regime where there is going to be tightening. Everybody's going to feel some of that. For example, if people can find Liberian dollar, that is fighting inflation. But also that means that they're in a squeeze. So in a tight environment like that, where people can see Liberian dollar, the rate should not be going up. Because technically, it is more Liberian dollar outside that can cause the inflation. So it's a contractionary policy. And we say in economics, during time when you want to bring inflation down, you will contract the economy for the short time while you work on the medium term to grow it. But the goal right now, if you ask anybody, number one goal, they will tell you, bring the inflation down. If it means we can hold back a little bit, but let the inflation rate come down, then that's what we're working on now with the exchange rate. So
speaking with the exchange rate, somebody asked a question, and I want you to speak to that also when it comes to the printing of new money. I know that
okay, so I think so this whole thing, because the idea now is that the money owed, but because we have politicized the central bank function so much now, it seems like even doing the thing that the central bank is supposed to do, we're all scared. Because the central bank is supposed to do one major thing, is that it is supposed to be a bank of issue, meaning it should print money in the economy. The Ghana Central Bank printing money, the Sierra Leone Central Bank printing money. When you say the central bank can print money, you say it's a commercial bank. Simple. Any central bank that can print money becomes a commercial bank. So the fundamental function of a central bank is to be able to print new money, working with the relevant entities.
With your influence to the president, some people are suggesting, why not recommend a 1 month, maybe 2 month timeline where the existing money that's causing the problem are removed from the economy, burned, trashed, whatever you want to call it, and bring in new money and start with clean slate. Because people think that people had the money in the houses, the money that was printed in people's houses. How can you not think about you clearing all this old money out of the market and bring your fresh new money? In that way, whoever keeping the money in the houses, they stuck with it. Because when the interim government came in 1990, when Emerson came, the first thing he did was he burned the money that Prince Johnson, he stamped the money out of circulation. That's why Prince Johnson don't speak today. Yeah. So something like that will help the country. I think that's what.
But you see, we're running a government where you have to also listen to everybody's view. Mm-hmm. What you're saying here, and you recently announced that we're on that path, but other people have views too. Mm-hmm. Some people say, if printing money now within the current environment, the confidence, even though it's a solution in terms of new money coming, but the environment is all such that it's just all the politics of it right now. It's a perception of politics thing. From a monetary standpoint, we should be printing new money. Mm-hmm. From a political, optical standpoint, we should not be printing new money. Which one should we go with? I put a question out to the public. You need the money, but from a political standpoint, people are saying, let me tell you something. No money coming here under the rigid standards that we have now. The co-sourcing of the central bank. We're even getting experts from Crow to sit at the bank. Nobody going to take money management, and the bulk handling of money at the bank is radically different.
If that's the case now,
yes,
it sets the precedent where you can actually remove all the old money off the market and bring, if you have Crow money.
Before you do that, before you burn old money from the market, which is serving us some kind of function now, how you put it back? You first must have something to replace with. So you see what I'm saying? Mm. And even that replacement is just a replacement. It doesn't still affect the need for increasing it. So if you took 10 million Liberian dollar and destroy it, from an inflation standpoint, that's fine because you just destroy money without putting money back. From an inflation standpoint, you're meeting a goal. But you need to put that 10 million back.
I think the problem is, if we cannot find the new money that was printed on the market, it suggests that people are hiding the money in the houses. So maybe the best way to do it would be try to order new money, and when the new money comes in the market, you give them a 1 week, 2 week period where people can change the money in the banks and then put that new money in circulation. So
if we don't address the reason why that money out, even the new money you can still go there. So let me say clearly, printing new money is not a solution for why people are keeping the money out. Because once you print the new money, if people don't have reason to bring the money in the bank to earn interest, if the transaction time is extremely difficult for them, if there are these rules, if confidence is lacking, they still will hold the new money outside. So you still have not solved the problem. So the problem we are trying to solve is to deploy the monetary policy framework that raises interest rates, that address some of the other things, structural issues. Then along those sides, you can print new money. This Christmas season, we need to bring new money in the economy. Now, I agree with my friends who say the optics, but because of political optics, we're not going to be in a situation where the country does not have. So what we do, we believe we have to. Now, there are two versions. The complicated question here is, the only person that can bring new money right now is Crane Company. In 2 months, Crane can bring new money. In December, if Crane prints the money that here, we get it.
What do we call new money?
No, I mean the same, they're like the money you have now, the Crane printed currency.
But then it brings a problem. Because that money, people believe is still in people's houses. I think the best way, because I know like people out there listening, but I don't think anybody wants the same money to come back, because what happened to the old money that was printed? We haven't seen it. I mean, if you go to the banks now, you can still get the old money from any time.
Okay, so then that means that this Christmas we got to be tough. Everybody should prepare to accept the difficult. Again, let me say that it's going to be good for inflation.
Right.
When people can find a Liberian dollar is tight, inflation should be coming down. So we got to think that in the back of our mind. But we also need a Liberian dollar to be moving and doing other things.
But what is going to happen if people go to the bank and get Liberian dollars? And then
So which problem do we solve now? Do we solve the problem of saying we don't want the old money in circulation because we think people are old? I mean, money is out there. People, if there are business people who have large holdings of Liberian dollar, they're holding it for different reasons. The bank right now, as I speak, let me say that the bank is working on a framework to get a lot of the large money, and we'll be speaking to that in this new. Also, they're doing something with large holders of Liberian dollar also. Yeah, they're doing things to get that money into. So there's some.
So you're confident that
there's some strategy, but I think we just need.
If interest rate increases, then all of that money or bulk of that money is going to come back in the bank within a month or two.
No, so that's what we're saying. No. So it's going to take some time. Even when we deploy the new insurance, it's not just magic. It's going to take time. We got to do a lot of work to get the confidence reestablished in the banking sector. But it begins with all these measures. But the problem we face now, like which the callers are saying, when they go to get old money. I mean, somebody finna work here, a teacher, and then he gets old money. So that's the problem. After here, I'm having a meeting. I told the governor, the acting governor, that there's a need to meet all of the banks. And from here, the other meeting I'm going from here is to meet Sammy Darby, the other company. There's a lot of things but I think we need to have a handle on this situation about how we bring money into the bank, so that the job of banks is to bring money out. Banks are supposed to have a way of going and absorbing liquidity and servicing their clients. I think that's a core function of the commercial banks.
Do we know how much of that old money from the Salif era are in circulation now?
Yeah, I mean, we know through the central bank reports, we have all the numbers. The central bank will speak clearly to the numbers are known. Which category or what, is known. The real thing now is, there are two things that can happen here. You can deploy this new monetary framework and money can come in the bank. And most of the 16, 15 in circulation money that's out can come through this new monetary framework, and we have that. When money comes in the bank like that, then we don't have the problem that we're having. So these people, and then we can take the mutilated ones from there and use even the Queen printed money to exchange. At some point, we have to accept that, either we allow Queen to print, that's a conversation that's happening. Because to be honest with you, I think Queen took a beating for.
Yeah, I know, Minister. I know Queen is involved in everything, but I think personally, I know what people think, but as long as you have that money that Queen printed, but that came in before you guys came to office, in people's houses, it makes it hard for us to print the same money.
I agree.
So I think there should be some changes to that money, because if you put the exact same design in circulation, I think people will feel that maybe people who are hiding the money will bring it back outside again. So maybe the best way is just cancel that whole money, like it must try to do the Prince Johnson.
Okay. We hear you. So they're very again. This is at the legislature, expert. Everybody got even I presented the thing at the U.S. Treasury when I went for the annual meetings. They had their views. The visit view was that we're in a very tight situation, because when the thing you're raising, even the Treasury raised that. You're in a tough situation where you need new money in. When you go one side, your concern you're raising. They're raising when you change it, people say, "Oh, you're changing it." So my preferred solution is to change. That's my preferred. But we're in a space where, it's a governing process. You have to solicit views, and the Liberian people, we have the view. Maybe at some point in time, we have to take it out to the Liberian people. We need to let the Liberian people tell us, because they're the ones whose confidence we are looking for. Maybe we need to find through civil society, let the voices come out. Because recently when we came out of the economic management, national economic dialogue, when we talk about printing money, you saw the we never tell to print money. We'll print money. And then, well, the Liberian people was, the backlash. Yes, do the Liberian people want a new money? Economically, this is it. Because you see, right now, the politics running plenty of things in the country. And if we allow politics to continue to run things here, because we're afraid of the political consequences, we will be headed for trouble. The president has not yielded to political pressure. But you can see clearly, he's not a president who can cave in. But if we believe that large people don't want to do that and you move in the policy, then it's a problem. So I think we have a perception and a political challenge that is getting in the way of a sound economic policy. And I think we need to divorce the two. The government at the end of the day will make the decision that is necessary, and we live with the political consequences and move forward.
Obviously, because you are the experts,
yeah.
So you have to do what is right, and then
yeah.
What the Liberian people might get the best.
That's it.
The worst. Well, we've got 4 more minutes to conclude this conversation. But maybe you have another question for the minister, because I'm not taking calls anymore.
Yeah, I think the public.
Before we go, there have been instances where austerity measures have worsened the nation's economy. Given that you resigned to enter the IMF program, that requires severe contractions. As an economist, what are your broad instincts and technical expertise on this contraction program of the IMF? What empirical evidence do you have in place that this country is ready for such a program? And we've seen what the austerity measures have done in Chile, Ecuador, Bolivia, Lebanon, where strikes are going on currently. Do you think the timing is right?
Look, the timing question is we don't have a choice. Because we are at a point where we don't have a margin now. This program is going to get us out of the woods, but it requires the sacrifice from all Liberians. As an economist, my instincts tell me that this is the best thing that we need. So forget about IMF. No country should spend money that it does not have. No human being should spend money that it does not have, that he or she does not have, right? No human being. So what it says is that live within your means as a country. Don't borrow when not necessary. And so that's what a program is. Any country, you have 2 individuals, one man wasting money, another person, they can call them stingy. And you notice that the stingy people can always be having money. You don't notice that in life? Mm-hmm. The people who don't like to spend money, what do you think happened to them? Those are the ones who you say got money, they mean. But those are the people that are economically well off. The guy who gives his money out liberally is always broke. We, a government, have been running like the guy who gave his money out liberally. We need to move to the stingy guy. Then this stingy government will generate more resources. Saying it's stingy is tightening things. It can then take that money that is generated to invest in things that will grow the economy. I began by saying that, look, this program is going on the back of 74,000 Liberians who are currently working for the government. These 74,000 Liberians support 740,000 other Liberians. But 4 million Liberians are not affected by this salary payment. And so this program, working, 74,000 Liberians are saying, we want to help our other brothers to bring them in the net through roads, through agriculture, as you argue, that we need to find money for agriculture, through better school teacher. We need to put every teacher in every classroom. The number of girls, children that are not in school, we need to make sure they are not in school probably because of school feeding issues. They're not in school because of all kinds of issues. We need to address them and get these girls in school. So the country looks like it's doing well. But to do these things, you have to give Minister of Education more money. If you don't give Minister of Education more, that's when the post say they're tracking how much money will give Minister of Education. How will you give Minister of Education money when all the money is going on a bloated wage, or when all the money is going on something that's not necessary? So we are cutting down on all these things, and the program is just saying, slow down, fix your things, and let me tell you the benefits. The benefit is that in year 1, by June, everybody will be rushing to see Liberia number. Let me tell you, as soon as June closes to July, the entire globe is going to be looking for Liberia's fiscal numbers. And when they come out, then everybody will say, damn, Liberia heading somewhere. Lona can give Liberia a second chance because it looks like the fundamentals are right. Now what happens? The business climate reform that we're doing will then make people to say, you know, we're more confident, we bring our money to Liberia. The people who are on the government payroll will then find the jobs to go there. But everybody say, I was at the African finance minister, you know, the Ghanaian finance minister invited me, select about 3 or 4 ministers invited to the Africa forum with one group. And I met the Nigerian finance minister, former Ngozi. And what she said, look, let me tell you, macroeconomic fundamentalism is the only way. If your macros are not right, everything else will be wrong. I agree with her. I argue with the phone all the time. It can't only be about macro, yes. But at some point, the macros send a signal to other outsiders that stop them from coming in. So your macro is like a gray card. If I say I want to employ anybody who made 80, the people send a gray card, or the people who made 70, they're not getting my job. So anybody who made the effort to get 80, that the person has started looking at. And that's where we want to go with the macro. But it's not all about macro, it's about agriculture. So the African development, the African Bank discount facility that should bring 65 million in this economy, we're working with the fund to see how we can do that as a stimulus. When we bring the money to the banks, we want the banks to move this money to agriculture. In as much as we're mobilizing other resources, this is one of the ways in which we want to help stabilize even some of the banks. Some of the banks, okay, government owing all these banks like Eco Bank, government owing Eco Bank a lot. And this facility is one way, not Eco Bank, but LBDI. LBDI, like, and we want to help LBDI by doing this. So, overall...
Just one last question.
Yeah.
We have midterm coming next year.
Yeah.
A major issue has been the issue of funding the National Election Commission. It's a very polarized political society.
Sure.
Do you have enough money for elections, midterm?
Let me say that clearly. Yeah, the president floated that to the development partners. Mm-hmm. The president floated that question to the development partners on elections on Saturday when they met him. That we need to find resources, because here's what we're talking about here. It's a major question. We balance the payroll, we pay regular. We're not going to affect that payroll because of elections. I want to claim that. We will not take money to pay payroll servants to use it to fund election. If that would mean the Minister of Finance will not be there to.
So that means we may not have election next
year. We will have election, but that means we need to find, just how we're doing with the LEC conference, we need to find, if the government, we're working on a lot of windfall proposals for extra money to come, that money that we're not budgeting for. We're working on investment paths. Some of those extra money come within ring fence.
Do you have any idea how much money we need for that midterm, for the midterm?
I mean, the election thing, I won't get into. If I was running the election budget, I won't get into that thing. But in this current budget, I think we got 2 million there to prepare. But that's not the money needed for the election. So election funding is a major thing. I don't know. You can call the election experts. They'll tell you how much is needed for that. But we need money, because it's a whole country. It's all 15 counties. So that money is going to be huge. We could ring fence. Now, the money that's supposed to go to agriculture is not going to be affected by the election. So if I ask the public right now, and we had $10 million for election, and we got $10 million for agriculture next year, where should we put the money? Let the public answer that question. Where should we put the money? Some of the public will say, put the money in election, but then putting the election means you have sacrificed agricultural productivity.
But then you also risk not passing the MCC school because of elections and stability.
Yeah, so in other words, we're solving many things. We believe we're not compromised. Those elections are major. But I'm just flagging this out to mean that, and the president has already communicated that we do everything to ensure that, because we budget for that election in the next budget. So this year budget is not the budget for the election. This year is the preparation. In next year budget, the money to fund the election we'll put it there. But by that time, we will find savings in the budget to do so. By that time, we will get some extra revenue that will ring fence. By that time, some development partner will say, look, you know what? Given your challenge, and because you're going to the IMF program, I will bring my money and just say you'll use it for election. So you don't disturb the program. So that's why the IMF program is a positive thing for the country, because it gives people confidence that you're not using the money anyway, because other people are there with you also to see. But in a case where they bring the money and nobody else there, they think, so that's it. So in other words, let the country rally around the president. Let it rally around the government. We invite all our opposition brothers. This is our country. Politics, we do it anytime. We play politics every day. We know how to do politics. But let's do development work first. The president has extended an olive branch to the National Economic Dialogue to opposition leaders. Let us stop misinforming. Because look, Rodney, I go out there and meet serious people who want what they call, and what they tell me is that minister, your staff come, and I've told you that Rodney as a major, because your people they're reading. Her first tells me, minister, where all this bad news coming from? Where all these negative things? Okay, he said, minister, it's not about the perception or what is true, what is not true. The idea that the whole country is talking about these kinds of things, it makes the outside people afraid. So it has to stop. So you and your colleagues have a fundamental responsibility to protect the image of the country. When there are wrong things going in the country, go after it. But don't go after the things that are not wrong and try to make it look wrong. Because all at the end of the day will be affected. The people who bring their money here, they're all affected. So let's stop that. I'm calling on Cummings, Benina Ure, and all of the people who are out there. Let us take our country as one. The president has extended an olive branch. We sit around the table and have this national conversation about inclusion. Inclusion means bring your ideas, what they call criticize when necessary. Nobody is afraid of criticism here. We want criticism. But let's criticize on the basis of the facts. Let's say, look, Mr. Minister, if you told me you criticize, the president has not appointed a agriculture minister as a criticism, that's fine. Our response is, yes, the president has taken some time, that's costly, no minister, no leadership, that's a legitimate criticism, but the president is doing it so that at the end of the day, we get somebody and put the fundamentals in place and move forward. We can take criticism, but let's take the legitimate ones and not confuse our people here.
5 minutes past 11 o'clock already. My final question, and then we call it a quit on this one. I want to know from you, Minister Tweah, are you aware there is this news about the LRA being behind, in revenue generation, 30 million? Is it anything that you know about? Is it true?
Listen, the situation we face could mean that there could be challenges to revenue. We are working on that. A challenging situation means that the rate at which things were happening may not be. So that means that we need to dig into new ways. So you see the authority going out aggressively, opening new paths. That's it. The flows that we're getting, as I explained earlier, are not coming. So it means you have to up your game. Last year, the LRA collected 480 million. This is the highest amount of domestic revenue. 469 million. So the highest amount of domestic revenue. Okay, in a very long time. What we're saying here is, look, budget support will come, but we need to move that number to 510. To move that number to 510 means many, many things. It means broadening the base, bringing more people to pay taxes. So there are some people who are not paying taxes, and people will bring them. We have to address some of the other things, the stimulus to expand the economy. We have to improve the business climate. We have to work on the judiciary so that our score and say contract enforcement, the number of days it takes to open the business in Liberia is moving from, we should take only 2 days to register business in Liberia. 2 days. Now, why Rwanda can achieve that kind of thing, we can achieve it. So sometimes you see, we have a situation where all the government entities everybody trying to do stuff, whole turf. We need to surrender all our turf and just do what is right for the national economy. Because those are the signals we're being judged by. So all the entities now have taken a hit. The business climate change, we should have moved more than on doing registering to do business than we move. We just moved by 0.8. It's negligible. I think we don't need to, like what they're going to registering property. They say it takes a very long time to register property in Liberia. How long? Are you kidding? Maybe all these entities that need to be in a new ministerial complex where all these processes are just simple. And maybe the move there will help simplify these processes. Maybe we need to take the Liberia business registry from commerce and just move it into a place on itself and say sit down right near LRA. So as soon as somebody come, they just moving from door to door and all process finished and they're gone. They say Liberia, you can register in 2 days. Maybe that's what we need. So those are the conversations, but we're not going to sit there for the next business school to come out and see us ranking at that level. The president has challenged all of us. And everybody listen to me, the Liberian people, my colleagues in the government, all of us, we have to work over time to deliver this agenda. We are challenged, but our best days are still ahead of us. This country will rise. When somebody writes and say Liberia has fallen because of the IMF, I challenge and condemn that kind of language and say Liberia will not rise. Our partners IMF is here to help us. IMF provided 1.2 billion to this country. If President, we are against any half of that thing, we're done. We finished. We're trying to measure. But our best days are still ahead of us. And I'm speaking directly to the Liberian people not to listen to distraction and to propaganda. To stop lying. I mean, some beating so much now that people have all kinds of views about me, all kinds of things that I'm not involved with. They just put out all this stuff, but we need to communicate with the people. The president is agreeing, challenge us. We come and go to a time center. We'll move from place to place, go Ganta, all these places, and carry the message out to the government that this government is succeeding. Stop listening to people who say it can't govern, because that's what they want in the first place. Thank you.
Mr. Tweah, thank you so much for sitting with us today.